It's very interesting to hear some of the presentations from yesterday and tips about being a successful supplier. We've heard about innovation, demonstrating new ways of delivering best practice. So hopefully we'll demonstrate some of that in the next couple of slides for you. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the challenges as we see them, share some of the common issues that we see out on site, and then demonstrate how we use the innovation to deliver best practice. And there are some real achievable results that I'm going to show. It's things that are happening with our customers, the customers that are embracing the technology and using it to their advantage. So as we heard yesterday, we're more focused than ever on cost management in order to maintain profitability, satisfy our shareholders and the onward supply chain. We're seeing huge fluctuations in commodities and utilities. We heard again yesterday about the challenge the aggregates market faces and the potential shortage in aggregates to fulfill some of the projects. So a nice situation to be in, but a headache that's coming down the line. The skills gap, key people leaving the industry shrinking, how we fill that gap, and our workforce getting older and trying to replace them. The ageing assets that we see, we've gone around with a number of customers that since 2008 haven't replaced a lot of mobile plant and having similar issues trying to divert the restrictions in OPEX and CAPEX towards the static plants. And we're always having to come up with new ways of trying to finance and fund some of the deals that we're doing. So a big challenge there. And really central to it all is being committed to safety and that safety excellence. The forefront of everything that we do is making sure what we do safely. So back to front a little bit, but go into some of the results that we're seeing. So those of you that are running business units or businesses out there, I'm sure there's a number of things that are shown on screen that you'd like to drive through into your business. Cost per tonne reduction, fuel reduction, smaller fleet size, less equipment to have to worry about. An increase in tonnes per hour, lower equipment hours to produce that volume, and maximising machine availability. These are all key drivers that we're seeing out through our customers and actual results that we're seeing them achieve. As we've heard a lot, data's everywhere. Big data, more data, we're collecting it faster. It's being transmitted quicker, and we're still having to analyse it. It's what we do when we get that data and how we analyse it. Are we doing it quick enough? By the time we've analysed it, are we missing the opportunity? For me, there's a few fundamental areas that this data points at, and we've heard it this morning a couple of times. This data can help us get the best out of our people. We've heard about engagement and leadership. We can analyse site conditions so we can get the best out of our site. The materials that we're loading and the loading areas that we're working in. And the best out of our equipment, making sure it's productive, it's available, it's there when we want it. It helps us with our productivity, our fuel consumption, and our maintenance requirements. So some of the issues that we're seeing, or some of the work that we're doing with our customers, is actually understanding what's happening on site. Where are the pinch points? What are the issues on site? What are the future development plans? Is the equipment that you choose today going to work in tomorrow's site? It allows us to model various scenarios, the number of plant, the size of plant, and the type of equipment. In this instance, we saw a lot of waiting time at the crusher, so really reducing the tonnes per hour that were moved. We worked with a customer, came up with a number of various different options. One of the ones was increasing the stocking area at the crusher and how we delivered that material into the crusher stockpile. As you can see, we rerouted the haul. If there was a truck tipping into the crusher, we diverted the next one to stock. By changing the tipping method, we eliminated a loading shovel. There was a loading shovel there on site that was there to help manage the stockpile. So some huge changes, and we'll go on later into the results that this helped to deliver. Connected to the equipment. We're analysing the data and seeing things happen in pretty much real time. And as if you haven't had the opportunity yet, please go and have a look at the screens that we've got down there. We've got some quarries that are operating some real-time data that we can show you. In this instance, we noticed that the yellow line, which was the bucket fill factor, was significantly reducing. And the grey line, the increase in cycle times. So immediately that drew us to some impact on site and some issues on site. We could go out on site and have a look at the various cycle parts of the operation, and quickly understood that the prime mover wasn't working effectively. Talking to our customer, we wanted to find out what had changed, what was different. And in this instance, it was the blasting regime. It's cost saving, but what's the cost of that cost saving? The one thing that we noticed by them changing their blasting regime was the increased fragmentation of the material. So they weren't getting the bucket fills, they were doing extra passes to fill up the loaders, to fill up the trucks. We took action on that, or helped them take action on that, and the result is that they've got back on track with their productivity. What that meant was an increased load time, reduced production, increased machine wear as well, spending more time in a dig, the impact on GET, more cycles of the loader, increased secondary braking, where you're having to pull oversize to one side, and of course secondary handling to move that oversize, increased fuel burn to move that material, and eventually increased cost that was creeping into the business. And employee engagement, very important, how we connect with our employees. Again, there's some information that we pulled together, and this was shown in the Caterpillar presentation that ran before me. The graph at the top, that shows the cycle times of the trucks broken down into segments. So you've got the load time, travel loaded, stopped loaded, travel empty, and stopped empty. In this instance, we were seeing that the average travel loaded was less than the travel empty. Now, we'd expect trucks to return a lot quicker with no loads on the back. So what's going on site? Operator engagement, stopping maybe, read a paper, have a cup of tea, phone their wives and girlfriends or boyfriends. And another thing that we spotted as well was that the bucket fill factor again was low. So having a quick look at site, we can see that the loading area is not right. I don't know, from the picture, anyone pick up any issues with the way that truck's being loaded? Truck's reversed onto the stockpile. Bench height's too low as well. So the excavator's not getting a full bucket, and again, that's leading to increased cycle times. What I've got following is just a short video. It's a testimonial of one of the customers that we're working with. We've heard a lot about collaboration, and it's a journey that we set out on about 18 months ago to work with a customer. They put a lot of faith in what we were doing, and I'm happy to say that we're delivering what we set out to do. So I'll just play the video for you.
I'm Lex Russell. I'm aggregates and asphalt vice president for Cemex in the UK, and I've worked for this company for 25 years. The new contract with Finning is a real game changer for Cemex, and first within Cemex and also within the industry. It's going to take us to a higher level in a number of aspects. Number one always is health and safety, and getting home to our families safely. That is so important to us in Cemex. with the new equipment that we have, it takes health and safety to a higher level as far as mobile plants concerned than we've ever been before. Also, we're working together with Finning on how we operate the machinery, again to make it safer, and how we maintain the machineries. Secondly, in our vision and strategy comes the customer. And it's important that we provide construction solutions for them going forward. Again, this deal with Finning has helped us to be a lot more flexible in the workforce. It's given us the opportunity to increase our production levels. So this is going to help us meet the needs of the marketplace quicker than what we would have done otherwise. Then when you talk about our employees, our employees have now, we've spent a lot of time training them, we've given them new equipment, good equipment, they're very proud of this equipment they've got. It all goes towards making our employees feel more engaged in the workforce. Our next group, communities, and again with the equipment that we have in place at Duffels going forward, that's going to really help us to be in a more sustainable position. It's going to reduce our environmental impact within the quarry, so we're going to reduce noise emissions and also CO2 emissions on the site. Again, this deal that we've done with Finnings will help us to achieve that. It's going to make us a lot more efficient on the site, more operationally efficient, which will help us to turn in greater returns for our shareholders. And finally, operational excellence is just built into our genes in Cemex. We're always striving to be the best. And I think this deal makes us the best in the industry. I don't think anyone else has got a deal anywhere near this. So I think this puts us up there, and others are going to look on and they'll try to follow, but by the time they follow, then we'll be a stage ahead.
So certainly a very good testimonial for us. And Lex mentioned their drive for operational excellence. And as part of that, we're seeing engagement with employees, working with site conditions, and us supplying efficient equipment. That three-way approach with the customer is driving that operational excellence. And we've really gone beyond collaboration on site. And I know Neil Farmer from Cemex is here. And I think, Neil, if you're happy to talk to people after this, and Neil's there, and speak to him about how it's working for them on site and what we're doing there on site. But certainly gone beyond collaboration into a partnership where both parties are held accountable for the safety, efficiency and continuous improvement on site. So moving towards the real-time data, and again, that's demonstrated on the screens and on the dashboards there. We've got the ability to put the dashboards onto laptops, so giving pretty much real-time data on productivity. So we're looking at total production per shift, average payload by asset, the load time, the cycle time, tons hauled per hour. It's a quick analysis of some key metrics that can make quick decisions on the ground as well, quickly pinpoint some issues that are there, allowing us to take some quick action. And so we've got the data, we've analysed the data quickly, then what do we do with it? We've spotted some potential issues. There's another short video coming up once we've identified the issues, where we can combine a number of things, which is operator engagement, site conditions and equipment efficiency. So let's run the video. There's a voice overview as well, which will give you an indication of the various things that are there on the screen.
At Finning, we've always thought that if the operator could operate a piece of equipment and understand what is happening inside those components, he would drive with a much better conscience on machine efficiency. To do this, you have to start with what's happening on the ground. One analysis tool we use is point of view video, which is overlaid with key information from the truck's onboard ECMs. Here you can see we have ground speed, engine speed, the actual fuel burn rate, the gear the truck's currently in, and the payload. On the side, we have overlaid the suspension pressure so you can see what's happening as that truck hits ruts and bumps on the haul road. And at the top, we've put the GPS location on there so the customer can see where on site is causing high fuel burn or suspension events due to poor haul road design or maintenance. Taking this a stage further, we can also compare two different operators' performance on the same haul road to analyse any training or operational improvements. The bottom video shows the customer's operator completing 4 haul cycles, and at the top is one of our certified demonstrator instructors, and on the right is a map with GPS of the haul road. The blue dot is the customer's operator's position, and the yellow dot is our CDI. Using this, we could see that the customer needed to focus on delays in the load and the dump areas through better truck sequencing. The driving technique was pretty good, so this required site supervisor engagement rather than operator training to get their cycle times back on target to meet production expectations.
And it helps that we've employed the Stig as our demo driver as well. That drives cycle times down. So from that, we go into training and coaching, the engagement of the operators. And we heard yesterday that operator skill is quite a concern within the industry. While we train our operators from newly qualified operators to competent and certified, that's pretty much where it stops. We view it much as an apprenticeship coming towards the end of our time. I was an apprentice and I spent years with continuous training until I was really up there at the top of my competency and my efficiency. We're working with the operators and working with customers to get those get the operators trained up to an efficient standard, and this can only come from the ongoing management of those operators. So, moving beyond competence to competence with efficiency. We all understand how important our employees are to the success of the business. Finning have worked with the IOQ and MPQC to take their mobile plant card scheme to a higher level, and we're moving beyond competence to competence while driving efficiency. The gold card builds on experienced operators' blue card and helps improve productivity and fuel efficiency. Also helps with employee engagement, their retention as we recognise them professionally, and it gives them a natural progression step as well. And here's just a great example of where that works. We took an operator that went through the gold card training, very experienced operator. We monitored him 3 months before the training and then 3 months after the training, and there's some significant results that we saw. Reduction in fuel burn, payload compliance increased by 4% as well. That equated to about £23,000 per year in saving. That's one operator, one machine. So those of you that work in bigger organisations or even small organisations can have a huge impact on your site. And when we look at efficient productivity, so when we go back to the slide that I showed where the development work was done around the crusher, we worked to understand what the baseline was, what the tonne per hour being moved was. It was around 1,700 tonnes at the time. By working with the customer, with the operators, to understand payload compliance, get their payload compliance up, get the cycle times right, we set a new target of around 2120 tonnes per hour. Not quite there, nearly there, but we're only 14 tonnes per hour off our target, so pretty good improvement. I think most of us would quite happily take a 22% increase in productivity. And it's not all about loading from the face either. There's a lot of secondary handling applications as well, where we're seeing opportunities to improve. When we started monitoring this machine, these were actually two 980s that were working side by side in a loading application. So both machines had a very similar graph. You see the idle time was about 45%. We worked with the operator to understand what was happening. Some of the trains were being loaded at night. The operators wanting to keep warm had the engine switched on, changed to spec, fit night heaters. We can turn the ignition off, reducing the idling time down to about 15%, which is where we'd expect it to be. The benefit that we saw from that was a saving across the two machines of about 12,500 litres of fuel. And this was at a time when fuel prices were still quite high. So it was at the time about an £8,000 saving in fuel burn. And then when we looked at replacing those machines, putting new ones in, they weren't burning up unnecessary hours, so we could extend the life of those assets. It helped us with the maintenance of the assets as well, so we could stretch out the component lives. And the finance and lease costs of the machines as well were reduced. So there's a £47,000 benefit across those two machines as well per year in savings. And then finally on to the efficient site and the safe site. We monitor closely the operator-induced events. As my colleague from Caterpillar said earlier, it's a huge opportunity to drive out unnecessary cost and increase efficiencies. In June and July, we noticed a spiked increase in operator events. Holiday cover, anyone hazard a guess why? I think we all use agency drivers to cover the shortfall. We're putting them on machines that are worth upwards of £500,000. They've got a blue card, so they're competent, so we're happy to sit them on those machines, let them go to work. But are they truly competent? Are they efficient? Do they truly know what they're doing? We picked this up, went back to site, understood what was happening, training, coaching and development, and in most instances we saw a big reduction the following month, and certainly we've seen a marked reduction now as we're working with site to reduce those events. Site induction process has changed. We've produced some standard operating procedures as well, so on a regular haul the guys know how they should be driving the equipment, when they should be using the retarder, when they should be holding the gears. And that's reduced the risk of not only premature component failure, increasing the repair and maintenance costs, but reducing the risk of an incident on site. So back to the results. Hopefully it's demonstrated that there are significant gains to be made for some relatively small changes. The operational excellence driven by continuous improvement can only be a success if you've got measurement, leadership and engagement. The data, the innovation, collaboration with our customers through the supply chain and accountability on all parts are the enabler for this. Thanks very much for listening. If there are any questions, I'll be pleased to answer them, or come and see us. I'll be around for the rest of the day. Thank you. No questions?